Herbert's 100 harem. "I'm not that unconscious," he says as someone starts to pick him up. He opens his eyes and looks up. Isma is smiling down at him, one hand on his shoulder. "You were healing at quite the odd rate." She notes and he focuses on his hand. It's already turning yellow, so he's past the purple stage already. "I've seen Tretz recover. You're days ahead. I focused on repairing the capillaries and veins in my body before internal organs and what hairline cracks I've developed." He stands up. His everything is stiff. He cracks his neck and there's an almost involuntary wince from Isma. "Well, if you're done trying to prove yourself, I am impressed. For your age, you're absurdly advanced. Although it does make me worry that my great-grandbabies won't have as much of a childhood as they should." "There is no childhood that lasts long enough. Like it or not, you always lose your innocence too early," Herbert remarks before checking his pocket. "I half expected the damn recording to go off again." "Not quite that." Sir Philip's voice rings out and Herbert quickly scans the area to find Borizi is holding out a communicator. "I was worried, so I asked a bit of advice," she says. "Ah, thank you. Quite the trip you're having, young man. Still, if you're already bouncing around, then you're nowhere near so badly hurt as feared. I'll make a full recovery within the day. I just wore myself out," Herbert says, which says quite a bit considering you broke the sound barrier on foot. Sir Philip answers, "Enjoy your vacation, young man." The call is cut and Herbert sighs a bit. "We sent him the video. It didn't last long, so we had to slow it down. You were still skipping frames at 1,000,000 per second, she says. "I suppose I would have been. Still, being frustrated and wanting to vent? No excuse. I overreacted and took all the kills," he notes. "Which is why tomorrow you're just watching US work. Tonight we've got a big meal. Also you're helping with the butchering come tomorrow," Borizi says, and Herbert nods. "Heh, deal," Herbert remarks as he takes a proper stock of the area. The shuttle had been called while he had been focused on recovery. The Mar Yatha and Mar Storis were all stored up and ready for consumption. One of the Mar Yatha, however, was almost entirely intact and trapped in the gray field of stasis containment. He personally remembers thousands of attempts to make it work while under the effects of null. It would be a perfect way to transport more delicate people through cruel space, either to or from Earth. But for all their thousands of attempts, nothing worked. Stasis fields and null were incompatible. So has anyone been bouncing around recipe ideas? Ribs are great, but large steaks and slabs of meat are always amazing. Not to mention we shouldn't throw out the bones. Boil them and we can make a good solid broth that'll be an amazing foundation for a stew or soup. Herbert notes and can't help but look towards Isma, who has a considering look on her face. "Is something wrong?" "You don't really rest, do you?" she asks, and he frowns somewhat. "I just got up from resting." He answers easily. "Since I'm up, I may as well be useful." "Interesting," Isma remarks, but says nothing more as she starts to help him set things up and put the last few things in order. He doesn't know how long he's been resting, but it was at most a few hours. The air is the same temperature and there's little if any difference to the light levels. Things are put in their proper places in the shuttle, which is about the size of a large building. It feels disingenuous to call it a shuttle. Still, a lot of it is also armor designed to keep the Mar Yatha off and away. The damn things had a habit of pouncing on ships and vehicles of all stripes, mistaking them for something armored they could crack open with their drop-bear routine and get at the sweeties inside. He doesn't bother sitting down as everyone gets comfortable. If he sinks into any one of the plush chairs, it's going to take a bomb going off to get him out of it, and he knows it. Tonight he's going to pass right the hell out and is going to need to be dragged out of bed after he gets into it. There are jokes and amused scolding that he took all the hunting for himself. It doesn't help his case to try and throw Isma under the bus, although the hunt mistress clearly thinks he's being cute. After that is bringing all the meat into their rented accommodations with its large kitchen and stasis chamber. An entire room dedicated to the walk-in freezer. Time only passed in there if the door is opened and the person who entered is still inside, which is why they were also popular with smugglers. Hard to sniff out some drugs or find a missing person if they're frozen in a moment, and a stasis room can easily be explained as an oversized larder in case there's engine trouble. But the kitchen itself had all sorts of spits and fire pits in addition to the ovens, stovetops, and innumerable hot plates. The girls who stayed behind and weren't so eager to hunt gladly took over the cooking and found an unexpected level of help from the other girls. Of course, they then started talking, and within minutes, there were about 5 different accounts what Herbert had done in the forest. According to one, he could outright fly now. Another had him knocking the Mar-Yatha around as if he were juggling. A third had him channel a Zeden so thoroughly he actually grew a tail, and that's why he wasn't sitting down. And what? Why don't you believe me? It's true. He won't sit down. Needless to say, the girls were having fun, and Herbert found himself with little to do. It was the strange issue of being part of so huge a family. Everyone else knew what they were doing at all times and always had something to do. But Herbert? He was both a central figure and an outsider at the same time. It was the disconnect that many men of the galaxy had. Everything was taken care of and there was little left for him. It's why he had his meal rules where everyone could speak with him. It made him feel more useful and like something other than just a figurehead. So he starts gathering some ingredients. He has to dilute this down an enormous amount, but he can still spice and flavor the meats. See if he can get a proper basting or marinade going for some of the meat. Of course, this means he needs to step away from the rest, as the way he makes it is to mix it normally and then basically dump the marinade into a full barrel of water to dilute it down. It'll just be a hint on his tongue, but it will burst with flavor for his girls. Ah well, the meat can stand on its own fairly well, and considering the building burning appetite in his gut, Herbert could probably eat a boot by the time things are finished, and still think things are tasty enough. The accelerated healing had taken up a lot of resources and spare calories in his body, and the thin layer of fat he deliberately cultivated to hide his stomach muscles was vanishing. He could outright feel the fat cells being devoured as his body healed. He was worried about losing the natural puppy fat around his cheeks. It was important to have in his private stream persona. It's harder to believe you're dealing with a child when you see a hard chin and thin cheeks on them. A rounder face sells the illusion far better and can be ignored in someone older as a merely well-fed adult who happens to be short. So it's useful for him to stuff his face on occasion. Some vegetables are brought out, mostly as a garnish or palate cleanser, as the meat is prepared in so very many different ways. A few of them are basted or boiled in the thin, watery marinade he made for them, and he can hear snippets as to how those pieces will go fast. Thankfully, dinner is soon enough hand. The veggies that are sided with the Mar-Yatha meat are done pot roast style for the most part. A few carrot analogs and potatoes to go with well-roasted meat. Yum. So, little man, first big hunt and you push yourself to the breaking point. Isma begins sitting next to him and teasing him lightly. Ah, but I didn't break, which means I'll push harder and stronger next time. Herbert notes, and Isma pats him on the head with the flat of her tail blade. Good boy, she says, and he gives her a dirty look for that. Unfortunately, it's only amusing for a woman of her ability. The pot roast Mar-Yatha melts in his mouth, and the slight tint of extra flavor is just a hint, but it's amazing. Also, the additions of the alien carrots and potatoes helps enormously. But that's only a small part of the feast. The tradition after a hunt is to prepare the meat in as many ways as you can, so small servings as you go through every cooking style. Next, he gets a few slices of rotisserie roasted Mar-Yatha and a bowl of the broth they had made from the bones. The restaurant idea is sounding better and better if this is what can be expected, he notes. There are roughly 6 of his wives that want to be chefs in some way, and they're really showing their stuff tonight. They had good ideas and could keep things together in a hectic kitchen. You're thinking far too deeply for a successful hunter, Isma notes a few moments later. I was considering exactly how this is going to be repeated with the Skathak lava serpent. How does one cook something that is naturally so hot it has molten metal as part of its skin? Killing it is easy. Enough force can kill anything, and when it's something so dedicated to heat, then introducing cold will shock it bad enough to at least cripple the beast. Already planning ahead? What if something happens to one of your wives? Not only will you be there to stop that, but I will be there to stop it as well. They'll need to show up in force and with snipers to even have a prayer, Herbert remarks. Perhaps some months ago he would have been surprised at how protective he would grow over these girls, but it's very hard to hold them at arm's length, and it's one task he's glad to have failed at time and again. The conversations are all over, and his own mention of the lava serpents has the girls already considering it. There is no doubt in their minds that victory is incoming. He wishes he had their certainty, but he had it drilled into him how easily things could go wrong. The most important thing that Sir Philip taught him is that for every grand victory he has, there will be 1,000 tiny failures, that they're to be risen from and even ridden upon if he wants to have a great victory. The work of a spy or infiltrator is dangerous and constantly shifts, and every shift is both a failure and an opportunity. But he must pay attention and do better, always better. It was a hell of a mindset to be in, always looking to improve yourself no matter what. He absently adjusts his posture to be more proper and balance out his appearance, and also give him the ability to leap away or duck down at a moment in case something happens. So serious. Of course the kiddies don't see it as easily, but you need to relax. You humans may not have had much time before, but you're living proof that there's time enough for you to fully and properly integrate all the skills you need, Isma says. You hopefully won't go through the sheer amount of trauma and pain that adorable little Philip had to go through to lock down his proper instincts. So do I, but I need to be ready either way. Being prepared is... Herbert is cut off when Isma grabs the top of his head. You are going to relax on your family vacation if I have to force you to. Calm down, stop looking for threats and just have fun, Isma tells him, and after a moment he smirks. But that's exactly when the unexpected attack comes, when you don't expect it, see? He jokes and Isma laughs and waves him off like a naughty child. Oh, of course, because it's not like you can have good night's sleep without being jumped by 500 cloaking assassins with frenzy patches on, she counters with some giggles. Although that does remind me, I need to call home after dinner, make sure my daughters haven't burnt down the bio barn. I'm surprised you weren't thinking they might hijack the station. Herbert needles her a bit. Try harder, young man. I know my girls won't do something that stupid. Isma counters. And you jinxed it. Herbert counters and Isma giggles.